Everyone has a price. That is what the powerful believe. That is what they have learned from a lifetime of buying whatever they want: people, loyalty, silence, souls. They have never met something that could not be purchased. They have never heard and know that money could not transform into yes, until they meet someone who is not for sale. This is a story about that meeting, about a king who believed $100 million could buy anything, and about a man who taught him that some things exist beyond the reach of money. This story did not happen exactly as I will tell it. Bruce Lee died in 1973, and the specific encounter I am about to describe is imagination, not history. But the world Bruce Lee navigated was real. Wealthy men did approach him with offers that would have compromised his principles. He did refuse fortunes that others would have accepted without hesitation. So consider this a window into a truth that history did not document, but that Bruce Lee's life made undeniable. Some people cannot be bought. Come with me to a palace in the Middle East, 1972. Come watch a king learn that his money means nothing to a man who has already decided what he is worth. The private jet landed at midnight. Bruce Lee had been told only that a very important person wished to meet him, that the meeting would be brief, that he would be compensated generously for his time. He had almost refused. He was busy with Enter the Dragon, exhausted from months of filming, eager to return to his family. But something about the invitation intrigued him. The mystery, the extravagance, the sense that he was being summoned to something unusual. The palace was beyond anything Bruce had ever seen. Gold everywhere, marble floors that reflected light like still water, servants who moved in silence, their eyes never meeting his. The wealth on display was not merely impressive, it was aggressive, a statement designed to overwhelm visitors before any conversation began. Bruce was not overwhelmed. He had learned long ago that external displays of power usually compensated for internal weakness. The louder the statement, the deeper the insecurity. He was led through corridors that seemed endless, past rooms filled with treasures, until he reached a private chamber where a man sat alone on a throne that looked like it belonged in a museum. King Rashid, not his real name, but the name I will use, was perhaps 60 years old. His robes were simple compared to his surroundings, but the ring on his finger could have purchased a city block in Hong Kong. He had the eyes of a man who had never been told no, who had never needed to ask twice for anything. Mr. Lee. His English was perfect, educated at Oxford decades ago. Thank you for coming. Please sit. Bruce sat in the chair that had been positioned across from the throne. He noticed that it was lower than the king's seat, a small psychological advantage, designed to make visitors feel subordinate. He did not feel subordinate. You are wondering why I have brought you here, the king said. I am. I'll be direct. I do not waste time with games. He leaned forward slightly. I want to train my personal guard. 50 men, the most elite soldiers in my country. I want them to move like you move, to fight like you fight, to become the most dangerous military force in the world. Bruce considered this. That would take years. And I have commitments. Films. My own students. I'm aware of your commitments. I am offering you 100 million American dollars to abandon them. If you're feeling the weight of that number, if you understand what $100 million meant in 1972, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Because what Bruce says next cannot be bought at any price. $100 million. In 1972, this was not merely wealth. It was dynasty. It was generational security. It was more money than most people could spend in 10 lifetimes. Bruce's expression did not change. That is a generous offer. It is not an offer. It is a statement of how valuable you are to me. The king smiled, confident. I have researched you thoroughly, Mr. Lee. You grew up poor. You have struggled for recognition your entire life. You are finally achieving success, but success in Hollywood is fragile. One failed film, and you are forgotten. He spread his hands, indicating the wealth surrounding them. What I'm offering you is permanence, security, the freedom to never worry about money again. All you must do is give me 5 years. Train my guards, make them invincible, and then you can return to whatever life you choose, richer than you ever imagined. Bruce was silent for a long moment. The king watched him, certain that the silence was calculation. That Bruce was adding up numbers, weighing options, preparing to negotiate. He was wrong. May I ask you a question, Your Majesty? Of course. Why do you want your guards to be invincible? What do you fear so much that you would pay $100 million to feel safe? The question landed differently than the king expected. His confident smile flickered. I do not fear anything. I am a king. Kings fear more than anyone. That is why they build palaces with walls this thick. Why they surround themselves with guards. Why they cannot sleep without knowing that armed men stand outside their doors. Bruce's voice was gentle, not accusatory. You have more than anyone I have ever met. And yet you are here, trying to buy something that money cannot actually provide. What is that? Peace. Security that comes from within rather than from guards. The ability to walk through the world without wondering who wants to harm you. The king's expression hardened. I did not bring you here for philosophy. I brought you here to make a business arrangement. And I'm trying to explain why I cannot accept your arrangement. Bruce stood, and something in his movement made the hidden guards in the room tense. Your Majesty, I have spent my entire life building something. Not money, purpose, not fame, meaning. What I teach is not a product to be sold. It is an expression of who I am. Everything is a product to be sold. Everything has a price. No. Bruce's voice was firm but not aggressive. Some things exist beyond price. My integrity is one of them. My teaching is one of them. If I trained your guards, I would be using my art to help you control people through fear. I would be turning something I love into a weapon for oppression. You do not know how I would use them. I know that men who build armies do not build them for peace. I know that $100 million does not buy training. It buys loyalty. And my loyalty is not for sale. The king stood now too. The dynamic in a room had shifted. Two men facing each other, one with all the money in the world, one with something money could not touch. You are making a mistake, Mr. Lee. I am offering you more than wealth. I am offering you power, influence, protection that will extend to your family for generations. And what would I be protecting them with? Blood money? A fortune built on teaching men to kill more efficiently. Bruce shook his head slowly. My children will inherit something more valuable than money. They will inherit a father who could not be bought, a name that means something, the knowledge that some principles matter more than any number of zeros. You are a fool, perhaps, but I am a fool who will sleep peacefully tonight. Can you say the same, Your Majesty? With all your guards and all your gold, do you sleep peacefully? The king did not answer. His silence was answer enough. I will leave now, Bruce said. Thank you for the invitation. I hope someday you find what you are actually looking for. But I do not think you will find it by buying people. He walked toward the door. The guards moved to block him, looking to their king for instruction. Let him go. The words were quiet, defeated. Something had shifted in the king's expression. Not respect exactly. Men like him did not easily respect those who refused them. But something else. Recognition, perhaps. The acknowledgement that he had encountered something his money could not touch. Bruce paused at the door and turned back one final time. Your Majesty, may I offer you something? Not as payment for the trip. As a gift. What could you possibly give me? Advice. From one human being to another. Bruce's voice softened. The security you are seeking cannot be purchased. It can only be cultivated. Not through guards or walls or weapons. Through becoming the kind of person who does not need them. Through releasing the fear that makes you feel you must control everything around you. He smiled slightly. You have more money than I will ever see. But I have something you do not. Peace. And I would not trade it for $100 million. Or $1 billion. Or all the gold in this palace. Then he was gone, walking through the corridors of impossible wealth, past the silent servants, out into the night where a car waited to take him to the airport. He did not look back. The flight home was long, and Bruce spent most of it staring out the window at the darkness below. He thought about the offer. $100 million. More money than his family would need for generations. He had said no without hesitation, and he felt nothing but peace. This is what integrity costs. Not the money you lose. That is just numbers, abstractions, digits that appear and disappear without changing who you are. Integrity costs the willingness to walk away. The strength to say no when yes would be so much easier. The faith that what you are protecting is worth more than what you are sacrificing. Bruce Lee could have been rich beyond imagination. He chose to be something else instead. Free. The king, according to stories that surfaced years later, never forgot the encounter. He told advisors about the small man who had refused his fortune. He wondered, sometimes, what it would feel like to have something that money could not buy. He never found out. Men who spend their lives purchasing loyalty never learn to earn it. Men who build security through force never find peace through trust. But Bruce Lee did, and that peace, that unshakable knowledge of who he was and what he would not compromise, that is the legacy that matters more than any film, any technique, any philosophy he left behind. You cannot buy a man who knows his own worth. You cannot threaten a man who has already chosen what he will die for. You cannot own a man who has decided that his soul is not for sale. $100 million. The king thought it was an offer Bruce could not refuse. Bruce taught him that some men have nothing to refuse because they have already given themselves to something greater than money. What about you? What is your price? What would it take for you to sell the part of yourself that makes you who you are? I hope you never find out. I hope no one ever offers you enough to discover where your breaking point is. But if they do, if someday you stand in your own palace, facing your own king, being offered your own fortune in exchange for your integrity, remember this story. Remember that Bruce Lee walked away from $100 million and never regretted it for a single moment. Thank you for watching. If this story reminded you it cannot be bought, please subscribe. Everyone has a price, except the people who have decided they do not. Which one are you?